Hey everyone, I'm Nick Hansen, and today we're going to spice up some Java. You might notice the chili pepper. That's not just because I'm a huge fan of tacos. It's actually Project Lombok's logo, and it's the perfect metaphor for what this talk is about. Adding a little heat and flavor to otherwise bland boilerplate code. Java is awesome, but let's be real, it can be wordy, like pages of getters and setters before you get to the fun stuff wordy. My indie project in Java here is called CodeForge, and it had one of those classes that just made me sigh every time I scrolled through it. So I decided to see what would happen if I tossed some Lombok into the mix. Over the next few slides, I'll show you what happened, how many lines we saved, what broke along the way, and how I wrangled it all back into working order. Think of this as a Western meets IDE kind of story. One brave dev, one spicy library, and a wild herd of boilerplate that just needs taming. Before we dive into the code, here's a quick bit of trivia. Project Lombok isn't some shiny new toy. It's actually been around since 2009, started by a developer named Rainier Zandveld, who was just as fed up with Java boilerplate as the rest of us. He wanted a way to make data classes cleaner without reinventing the language. It started small, basically just generating getters and setters, but it caught fire fast. Today, Lombok has over 15 million monthly downloads from Maven Central and is used everywhere from hobby projects to Fortune 500 enterprise apps. One of the coolest things is that Lombok isn't just a library. It's an example of how annotation processing can extend Java itself. It inspired other libraries and frameworks, and even features that later showed up in newer Java versions. So yeah, this little pepper's been quietly spicing up code bases for more than a decade. The motto, "Spice up your Java," isn't just cute marketing. It's a pretty accurate description of how it changed Java, how Java developers write and think about their classes. Alright, so let's talk about the villain in this story, boilerplate. Here's my original challenge class, 120 lines of pure repetition. Constructors, getters, setters, toString, and enough curly braces to make your wrist cramp. It worked, but it wasn't inspiring. Every time I needed to tweak something, I'd spend half my time scrolling. It slowed development, hid the real business logic, and worst of all, made version control diffs a nightmare. And that's not just my problem. It's a Java tradition at this point. Every enterprise project that has one class everyone avoids touching. So I asked myself, why are we still doing this in 2025? We've automated everything else. Enter Project Lombok, the tool that promises to handle the boilerplate for you. It's like having a sous chef that chops all your onions while you focus on the entree. Let's see how it actually pulls that off. So what is Project Lombok besides a pepper that somehow got into our build path? Lombok is an annotation-based Java library that generates all that repetitive code at compile time. You slap on annotations like @getter, @setter, or @toString, and boom, the compiler writes those methods for you. No runtime costs, no magic reflection weirdness, just bytecode generation. Think of it like a backstage crew for your Java classes. You don't see them, but they're working hard behind the curtain setting up your getters before the show starts. It's lightweight, doesn't bloat your runtime, and plays nicely with your IDE once you enable annotation processing. And the motto, spice up your Java? I mean, come on. Spoiler alert, they're not kidding. By the end of this refactor, my challenge class went from 120 lines down to 49, and it felt like I'd just cleaned my entire code base with a power washer. Alright, now that we know what Lombok does, let's pull back the curtain and see how it does it, because this part is actually kind of cool. Lombok doesn't wait until your app runs to generate code. It jumps in way earlier, during compilation. When you hit build, Java's compiler, Java-C, calls Lombok's annotation processor, and together they go, hey, let's sprinkle in some getters, setters, and constructors before anyone even sees this file. So what gets shipped to production? Not Lombok code. Just a regular Java bytecode, as if you had typed it all out yourself. That's why it's compile time only. It's like having a ghost intern who does all the boring parts of your job before the boss walks in. This diagram shows the process. You start with your Java source file, the compiler teams up with Lombok, and out pops a class file ready to run on JVM. The big takeaway? Lombok never touches your runtime. It's pure pre-processing magic. Safe, fast, and invisible once deployed. Now let's talk about how we actually get Lombok into a project, because you don't just drop this pepper into your soup without reading the label. Lombok goes into your pom.xml, but the important part is how you scope it. See this line? Scope, provided, close scope. That means Lombok is only needed at build time, not runtime. Once your code compiles, it's out of the picture. Think of it as the friend who helps you move but doesn't stay for dinner. Some projects use optional true instead. That works too, but provided is clearer for enterprise setups because it makes your intent obvious. This dependency never goes to production. Here's a simple visual I made. Runtime class path on the left and build time on the right. Lombok hangs out on the right during compile time with the other helpers, while Spring Boot, JDBC, and the heavy lifters live over here at runtime on the left. Knowing this difference might not sound thrilling, but trust me, when your enterprise build starts failing because a dependency snuck into the wrong scope, you'll wish you'd kept your peppers organized. Alright, time for some honesty. This was my challenge class before Lombok. Brace yourself. Over 120 lines. Constructors, comments, getters, setters, and two-string method that was basically an essay. Sure, it worked, but it looked like it was written by someone who's allergic to brevity, which is why it didn't sit right with me. Every change, even something as small as adding a field, meant rewriting constructors and copying getters. It was like mowing the same lawn every day. And that's the problem with boilerplate. It's not that it's hard, it's just tedious. It eats time, clutters diffs, and it distracts from the real logic of your app. So on this slide, I wanted to show the pain before the cure. Because when we look at the refactored version next, the improvement will feel almost unfair. Now this is what a glow up looks like. Here's the exact same challenge class, but now, thanks to Lombok, we're down to 49 lines. All the noise is gone. It's like switching from a cluttered garage to a spotless workshop where you can actually find all your tools. A few annotations, getter, setter, two-string, no args constructor, all args constructor, and suddenly all the grunt work disappears. The best part, the behavior didn't change at all. Every JUnit test passed without a single rewrite. That's the dream. Less typing, same reliability. So when you hear people say Lombok is just syntactic sugar, remember this slide. If sugar tasted like saving 70 lines of code and 10 minutes of debugging per entity, I'd pour it on everything. And what's even more wild is that this is the only file that I touched. I didn't touch any other files.